Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva is a bodhisattva of great compassion and mercy who rescues beings from suffering and adversity. Since ancient times, there have been calls to Amitabha Buddha and Avalokiteshvara. People earnestly worship and pray to the bodhisattva for blessings, seeking peace and smoothness for their family. Some even often say that as long as the heart is sincere, the bodhisattva will surely respond. However, among them, there are also those who are confused. In a remote small town, there lived an elderly lay Buddhist practitioner named Zhang Shanyuan, who was over 70 years old. He has been a devotee of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva since his youth. For many years, he has practiced daily worship and sutra recitation without interruption. He firmly believes that as long as one sincerely offers devotion, the Bodhisattva will protect and bless the family with peace and safety. However, what puzzled Zhang Shanyuan deeply was that despite his sincere devotion, his family seemed to gain no benefit from it. Instead, they faced continuous troubles one after another. Last year, our young child suddenly fell seriously ill, nearly depleting all the family savings. Recently, my spouse unfortunately injured their leg from a fall and has had difficulty moving ever since. Although Zhang Shanyuan strives to maintain optimism, he cannot easily conceal the disappointment and doubts in his heart whenever faced with these changes. One early morning, Zhang Shanyuan gazed at the statue of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva seated serenely in the Buddha altar in the corner of the living room, and many questions arose in his heart. He carefully wiped the Buddha statue, silently reciting sutras, yet he felt his heart growing heavier. Was it his own lack of devotion, or had the Bodhisattva not heard his prayers? These thoughts only deepened Zhang Shanyuan's confusion. He dared not confide in others, fearing that he would be seen as having lost respect for the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Finally, on a bright and sunny afternoon, he arrived slowly at the ancient temple in town, leaning on his cane and filled with numerous questions. Zhang Shanyuan gazed at the solemn statue of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva in the main hall of the temple, and in his heart he seemed to perceive a glimmer of light. He knelt among the numerous pilgrims, bowing in prayer, a hint of earnestness shining in his eyes. He deeply understood that his problem could not be resolved by an ordinary villager. So he mustered up his courage and explained his purpose to a kindly old monk with a compassionate expression. This venerable old monk, named Mingwu, is the abbot of an ancient temple and a highly enlightened master who has practiced the Dharma for over 60 years. He is the spiritual teacher. I have a matter that I do not understand and would like to seek the master's guidance. Zhang Shanyuan joined his palms respectfully and said, "Well said, well said." Master Mingwu, with kind and compassionate eyes, looked at Zhang Shanyuan. Zhang Shanyuan respectfully knelt on the meditation cushion and recounted his years of confusion one by one. "Master, I have been venerating Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva at home for over 20 years. I never miss my morning and evening prostrations, and on the 1st and 15th days of the lunar month, I especially offer incense and chant sutras with deep reverence. I have always believed that the Bodhisattvas would protect our family, ensuring safety and smoothness in our lives. However, over the years, misfortunes have continuously occurred in the family. The youngest child fell ill, the elderly spouse suffered a fall, and the atmosphere at home has worsened day by day. I do not understand. Despite my sincere devotion, why do misfortunes continually befall me?" After listening, Master Mingwu closed his eyes in deep thought for a moment, then slowly asked, "How is the Buddha image enshrined and venerated in your home?" Zhang Shanyuan provided a detailed description of the way he enshrined the Buddha statue in his home. The statue of the Bodhisattva is enshrined in a quiet corner of the living room, a place where it will not be disturbed. To create a sense of solemnity, I specially placed a mirror in front of the Buddha statue. This can make the Buddha statue appear more luminous. In the incense burner, I keep the incense burning all year round, and I have never dared to clean the incense ashes, as I consider this a form of reverence to the bodhisattvas. Every time I offer fruit, I try to prepare a more abundant variety, believing that this reflects sincere devotion. Master Mingwu patiently listened to Zhang Shanyuan's account without rushing to respond. Instead, he smiled gently and pointed to the Buddha statue in the main hall. Virtuous lay practitioner Shanyuan, you offer devotion to the Buddha statue daily with a sincere heart, which the bodhisattva naturally understands. However, offering devotion to the Buddha statue is not merely about the formality, but more importantly about whether it is in accordance with the Dharma. If the method is inappropriate, it may instead produce the opposite effect. Are you aware that there are many important considerations when venerating Buddha statues? Does the placement of the Buddha statue in your home, the selection of offerings, and the manner of incense burning all conform to Buddhist principles? Zhang Shanyuan spoke in classical language, his expression filled with surprise. He cautiously asked, "Please, Venerable One, kindly enlighten me." Master Mingwu gave a slight smile, stood up, and motioned for Zhang Shanyuan to follow him to the main hall. As he walked, he said, "Since the conditions have arisen today, I will explain in detail the taboos and methods of offering to the Buddha statue. Remember, the Dharma is omnipresent. Offering reverence to the bodhisattvas is also a form of practice, which must be combined with respect, wisdom, and proper discipline in order to resonate with the path." Zhang Shanyuan quickly rose and followed, his heart filled with both anticipation and anxiety. He seemed to have a vague premonition that this teaching would completely transform his way of offering and perhaps even resolve the doubts that had troubled him for many years. Zhang Shanyuan followed the renowned Master Mingwu into the main hall, where before him stood a solemn and majestic statue of Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. The Bodhisattva's face is compassionate, with gentle eyes that seem to gaze upon each devotee seeking protection here. The gentle fragrance of sandalwood incense permeates before the Buddha statue, while light filters through the glazed windows, casting a spectrum of colors, making the entire main hall appear exceptionally solemn and serene. Zhang Shanyuan paused for a moment and couldn't help but whisper in admiration, "The Bodhisattva is truly compassionate and majestic." Master Mingwu smiled gently and, pointing at the Buddha statue, said, "Layperson, have you noticed that everything arranged here is not done arbitrarily, but follows the Dharma, emphasizing acting in accordance with the law? Although the Buddha statue you enshrine is honored with sincere devotion, if it is arranged in violation of taboos, it may ultimately result in a loss of reverence toward the Bodhisattva. Today, I will begin by explaining the placement of Buddha statues to you one by one." Zhang Shanyuan joined his palms together in reverent listening. Master Mingwu pointed to the Buddha statue and said, "The placement of the Buddha statue is extremely important. It should be placed in the northwest direction of the house, which in Buddhism is called the front position, symbolizing the celestial gate and being closest to the spirituality of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. If Buddha statues are casually placed in corners or near unclean areas, such as kitchens or bathrooms, it will desecrate the sacred image and diminish the blessings of the Bodhisattvas. Furthermore, Buddha statues should not face mirrors directly, as mirrors reflect impure scenes, disturbing the tranquility of the Buddha hall and potentially allowing unnecessary negative energies to enter the home. The mirror in front of your household Buddha statue is precisely a significant issue." Upon hearing this, Zhang Shanyuan was momentarily stunned, his face filled with remorse. He quickly nodded, acknowledging that it was indeed so. He had thought that the mirror would enhance the solemnity, but unexpectedly, it missed the mark by a tiny margin and went far astray. "Are there other considerations regarding the placement of the Buddha statue?" Master Mingwu continued, stating that the Buddha statue should ideally face southeast with its back to the northwest, symbolizing the direction of the sunrise, implying everlasting brightness and blessings. Additionally, the Buddha hall must be well ventilated with soft lighting, avoiding prolonged confinement or darkness. If a Buddha statue faces the bed, television, or main door, it may appear disrespectful. These seemingly minor details can actually affect the energy and ambience of the Buddha hall. Zhang Shanyuan nodded repeatedly, committing each of these points to memory. Master Mingwu then led him to the Buddha altar and pointed to the offering table, saying, "The offerings also have their own etiquettes. Offering Buddha statues and offerings is valuable for the sincerity of the heart, not the quantity. Fruits must be fresh and intact, without any rot or damage. It is imperative never to use meat, fish, or alcoholic beverages as offerings, as this would greatly offend the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Fresh flowers should be chosen from pure blossoms, but without thorns. Objects related to economic matters symbolize obstacles and are not appropriate to be placed in the Buddha hall." Upon hearing this, Zhang Shanyuan suddenly recalled a time at home when, in haste, he placed a basket of imperfect fruits before the Buddha and immediately felt a deep sense of guilt in his heart. He asked further, "What about the incense offerings? Our family has kept the incense burner burning continuously for years, believing it to be a sign of respect to the Bodhisattvas." Master Mingwu shook his head. While burning incense is certainly an act of reverence toward the Bodhisattvas, excessiveness is detrimental. Offering a single incense stick daily is sufficient. The emphasis lies in the gentle fragrance lingering in the air, rather than in thick smoke filling the space. If incense is burned for a long time, the thick smoke will not only blacken the Buddha statue, but also affect the health of family members. Offering is rooted in sincerity rather than extravagance or excess. Master Mingwu, seeing Zhang Shanyuan suddenly enlightened, gently began to recount an ancient story. He preached that a long time ago, there was a wealthy merchant who devoutly offered reverence to Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva. He piled various exquisite offerings in front of the Buddha statue and even burned hundreds of incense sticks daily, believing that this would garner more blessings and protection. However, before long, his family fortune declined drastically, and constant quarrels arose between husband and wife. He harbored doubts in his heart and eventually sought guidance from a venerable monk. The venerable monk told him that offering is not about quantity, but about reverence and purity. The wealthy merchant later simplified his offerings to just a single incense stick and a cup of pure water, and unexpectedly experienced a turning point in his life. Upon hearing this, Zhang Shanyuan couldn't help but recall the situation at his own home, and his mind instantly became clear. He whispered softly, "I now realize that over the years my understanding of offerings has been misguided. I have focused too much on formality and neglected respect and proper conduct." Master Mingwu nodded, then continued. "The last point, which many people overlook, is the proper timing for paying respect to the Buddha. The most suitable time for daily Buddha worship is at noon, approximately between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m., which is the time when all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are to be venerated. The hour of Z, from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m., is the time when Yin energy is strongest and the gates of the underworld open. Performing Buddhist rituals during this period is considered inauspicious. Additionally, when paying respects to the Buddha, one should dress neatly, avoiding casual attire, such as slippers and shorts, and must not offer incense with an unclean body or under the influence of alcohol." Zhang Shanyuan immediately felt ashamed, recalling the times he had worshipped the Buddha late at night, or hurriedly performed prostrations in casual home clothes even during busy moments, feeling a deep sense of remorse. He stood up respectfully and said to Master Mingwu, Zhuli Gong with heartfelt emotion, "Master, I understand now. The problem was not a lack of sincerity in my mind, but rather my failure to act in accordance with the Dharma. The Bodhisattva is compassionate, yet I have shown disrespect due to my own ignorance. After returning, I will definitely reorganize the Buddha hall according to the method taught by my master and respectfully offer my veneration." Master Mingwu slightly raised his hand and said, well said, well said. As long as one follows the teachings devotedly, with a sincere and proper heart, one will surely receive the protection and blessings of the Bodhisattvas. Remember, offering worship to Buddhist statues is not merely a ritual, but also an expression of cultivating the mind. Adorn the Buddhist hall with solemnity and tranquility to demonstrate the cultivation of one's mind field to clarity and peace. Zhang Shanyuan felt deeply grateful upon hearing this. He was well aware that today's discourse would surely transform the fortune of his family. Following the teachings of Master Mingwu, Zhang Shanyuan returned home and began to carefully examine his Buddhist altar. For many years, he believed that placing the Buddhist statue in the corner was the quietest and most serene choice. But at this moment, he realized that such an arrangement not only goes against Buddhist principles, but may also prevent the bodhisattva from sensing his sincere devotion. He gently stroked the Avalokiteshvara bodhisattva statue that had been enshrined for many years, his heart filled with reverence and apology. He murmured softly, "Bodhisattva, in the past I was ignorant of proper conduct and caused many offenses. Today, I will rearrange everything anew to express my sincerity." He kept his word, and early the next morning, he invited a carpenter to craft a new altar for the Buddhist statue. The carpenter used premium sandalwood to intricately carve exquisite lotus patterns, making the Buddha niche both solemn and elegant. Zhang Shanyuan deliberately placed the Buddhist altar in a bright and well-ventilated location in the northwest of Canada. Here, sunlight gently falls and a refreshing breeze softly blows. This is precisely what the Buddha referred to as the prelude or foretaste. He respectfully placed the Buddha statue in the shrine and adjusted its orientation so that the Bodhisattva statue faced southeast, symbolizing the arrival of light and blessings. After adjusting the Buddhist altar, he began rearranging the offering table, removing all the originally intricate decorations. Only the most essential offerings remain: a pair of pure and flawless bronze lotus lamps, an intricately carved incense burner, and a pristine white porcelain plate. Every morning, he personally prepares fresh offerings for the Bodhisattva, carefully selecting plump fruits and pure, fresh flowers, never allowing any spoiled items to be offered. Beside the offering table, he also specially prepared clean water to purify and cleanse any impurities. What caused him the most self-reproach was the continuous, year-round burning of incense. He carefully cleared away the thick layer of incense ash from the censer, and only after thoroughly cleaning it did he place the censer back. He decided that from then on, he would offer incense only once daily at the 5 designated times, no longer allowing smoke to fill the entire Buddha hall. He understands that a sincere heart surpasses any elaborate ceremonial rites. This is the true way of offering. After the arrangement was completed, Zhang Shanyuan's Buddhist altar was renewed, with a wisp of fragrance gently rising. The compassionate face of the Bodhisattva in the shrine was illuminated by sunlight, appearing more solemn and gentle. Whenever he knelt in reverence, he experienced an unprecedented sense of tranquility and peace. He understood clearly that this was not only a change in the external environment, but also a manifestation of his inner awakening. Over time, the circumstances in Zhang Shanyuan's household quietly began to change. Since his youngest son was released from prison after a serious illness, his mental state has improved day by day, with doctors marveling at the speed of his recovery. Meanwhile, his elderly wife's injured leg has gradually healed. She can not only walk again, but often accompanies Zhang Shanyuan in bowing and praying before the Buddha altar for blessings. What comforted Zhang Shanyuan even more was that the atmosphere at home became much more harmonious. The children and grandchildren no longer quarreled over trivial matters, and even the relationships with neighbors gradually improved. 3 months later, Zhang Shanyuan returned to the ancient temple and reported his transformation to the venerable Master Mingwu. As soon as he stepped into the temple, the Dharma master recognized him at a glance. The master smiled gently, nodded, and said, "The lay practitioner's complexion is rosy and vibrant. Surely, all matters at home are proceeding smoothly, and the blessings are gradually manifesting." Zhang Shanyuan expressed with deep gratitude in classical style, Master, if not for your teachings, I would have remained completely unaware of the many improprieties in the offerings. Ever since I corrected the way I offer reverence, everything in my home has begun to improve. I truly appreciate the compassionate blessings of the Bodhisattva." After hearing this, Master Mingwu compassionately said, "This merit and virtue not only come from the blessings of the Bodhisattva, but also benefit greatly from your own awakening. With sincere faith in accordance with the Dharma, offering homage to Buddha statues is not merely an external form, but a manifestation of inner cultivation of the mind. Your efforts are the best testament to this principle." From that point onward, Zhang Shanyuan not only strictly adhered to the regulations for worshiping Buddha statues himself, but also frequently shared his experiences with other devotees. Through his personal experience, he teaches everyone that offering to bodhisattvas requires not only sincere devotion, but also an understanding of the importance of making offerings in accordance with the proper Dharma practice. Gradually, he became a model for the local military advisors, and many followed his example, rearranging the Buddha hall accordingly and experiencing the blessings brought by proper veneration. Zhang Shanyuan, reflecting on his initial confusion, felt a deep sense of gratitude in his heart when comparing it to his current state of peace and tranquility. He deeply understands that all of this is not only due to the Bodhisattva's compassion, but also because he has finally realized the true essence of offering. Beyond sincere reverence, adherence to proper rules is indispensable. Only within purity and accordance with the Dharma can one truly feel the protection and blessing. This awakening, as Master Mingwu said, is an important turning point on the path of cultivating the mind, and this turning point has brought a completely new beginning to his life.